Well, as a young lad, I had the misfortune of getting a thing called whooping cough. So the winter of maybe 1940 or so, I spent in bed. The Candor school system didn't seem to recognize that. So I spent 2 years in the second grade. The teacher thought, I don't know what the teacher thought. Well, a couple of years ago I thought, or it occurred to me that I graduated in '52. The Korean War was in '52. If I had graduated in '51, I might have been sitting over in Korea at this time. And then I realized that wasn't half bad. It had never occurred to me until a couple of years ago that if I had graduated 1 year earlier, I was drafted and sent to Germany. I did not have to go to Korea. Thank you very much.
Yeah, who are you, Howard?
Too late.
I don't have much to say, really. Yeah, I'm Roger Westgate. Just talking tonight to different people, talking a little bit about the things that have changed since the 50s. I was on a rifle team at Vestal High School, and I lived in Ross Corner, so I had to ride the school bus. So the day we had rifle team, I'd take my rifle on my shoulder, go over and wait for the school bus with my ammunition, get on the school bus, go to school, go into school, carry my rifle upstairs, put it in the locker, my ammunition, and then when ready to go used to go to IBM Country Club downstairs and shoot at the rifle. Then I just carry my rifle downstairs and get on the school bus again and ride over there and do our shooting, come back again. But that's how much things have changed since then. You could also ride around the back of a pickup truck back then too without getting arrested.
I'm Gary Henry, and I moved to the big metropolis of Wilseyville in 1958. And for a boy who was used to wandering the hills of Pennsylvania and the nearest neighbor was 3/4 of a mile away, that was quite a change. And that's one of the biggest changes in my life. It was in 1958.
I'm Carol Henry, and I remember 1953 or 4 when we actually moved to Candor from Wilseyville. And just prior to that, when my father was building the house, we would come and spend weekends in a tent, the whole family, while he was building. And that went on for quite a while. And we lived in the basement. He capped it off, and we lived in that for about 5 years before he then built on top. And my mom still lives in the house. And the other thing I remember is we used to go down to Smitty's swimming. It's the White Bridge. I don't know what people call it today, but it's on the Gridleyville crossing. It's the one towards the Spencer Road. And that was the big swimming hole. And the other thing I remember is the first class that I attended was 4th grade here in Candor, and that was at the Masonic Lodge. And then in 5th grade, I was at the Wilseyville Community Center. And that's where we had classes then, before the elementary school was built. And 6th grade, I was in the high school. Well, that was just that building. They were building the elementary school then, in that time frame. So it was finally built, and I remember in 6th grade going over there for gym. That's it.
My name is Audrey Oltz Hardesty, and basically during the 50s, my father built a gas station for my older brother to run, and the whole family got to run the place. And my father built the motel, so my mother kept me busy cleaning motel rooms and all the good stuff. And other than that, then I graduated in 57 and got married in 58, and that's it.
I'm Georgia Westgate. I started in Wilseyville for about 7 years. Went to Wilseyville School for 2 years, 1st and 2nd grade, and it was one-room schoolhouse. We had 6 grades in one room and 1 teacher. Then we moved to Vestal, and but in the 50s, we were in Vestal, and mostly in the 50s, I remember graduating from high school, going in nurses training. Roger went in the Navy. We got engaged, we got married, we had children by the time the 60s rolled around, so that was mostly my 50s.
I'm Don Weber. I went to work in the First National Bank in 1950. It's the Village Hall nowadays. And I worked for Mr. Wells, who was president of the bank. And Bill Gridley, William Gridley, was a cashier, and he was my mentor, so to speak, as I learned to do some of his job. And one of my favorite stories is every once in a while, about every year, I guess, unannounced, the bank examiners would come around. And of course, it was kind of a traumatic time for Mr. Wells, because you never knew when they were coming, but he had things pretty good order. The only thing was that they were very adamant about collecting interest on interest. In other words, if you had a note and it came up for renewal and the person couldn't pay the interest, it was a no-no to add the interest to the principal of the note. That's called usury. And guess what the federal government does today? Yeah, but my favorite story was Bill Gridley. The bank examiners came one time, and there was always an underling with them that did the trotting around and did the basic work, and the big shots would sit in the back room and discuss this and that and something else, I suppose.
How long would they stay?
A whole day. And one of the things they did was prove the accounts. And this young fellow had the job of adding up all the savings accounts. And he came out about $10,000 off. I guess because he didn't think that anybody in a small town would have any money like that. Anyways, he came out and waving his big long tape, and he says to Bill, he says, you're off $10,000 here. Well, Bill had just totaled it up the night before by luck. And Bill had a wry sense of humor. And he said, skip it. That's closer than we've been in a good while.
Well, I grew up, my name was Rose Goodrich at that time, and I grew up on a farm. And the biggest thing I can remember about growing on the farm is carrying cans of milk about a quarter of a mile in 1958 when we had the blizzard. That was some blizzard. I went first grade through 12th at Candor High, graduated in 1958. Jean and Alan Ahart currently were our king and queen. I was the only girl in Candor High that took a major as vocational agriculture and completed it. I noticed over there Victor Tucker was doing soil samples on the different farms, and I remember helping him do that for the farmers to know what to fertilize their fields and stuff with, and it was through Cornell University. So I guess that's about it. I am now currently married to Ralph Adams, which I'll now hand the mic to.
Ralph has nothing to say.
Well, you should. You got that ice house there.
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
I'm Joan Baby Meta. I grew up in Candor, came from a newspaper family. Let's see, 1950, I'll remember, because I was flower girl in Pete and Gloria's wedding, Pete and Gloria Ward's wedding. and that was on December 24th, 1950. And she had a fit because I wasn't going to cross that grate up in the Methodist church. She still reminds me of that. Then we'll skip on to 1952. My parents and I headed to Florida, and we visited different places. Dad was scouting out property to buy. And on our way back, we stopped at the, let me see, what was it? Oh, yeah, the Easter egg hunt in Washington, D.C. And I got to meet Dwight D. Eisenhower and his wife, Mamie. And they were out on the grounds. I mean, it's a rarity, but, you know, we happened to meet. And that was quite a thrill. And then in '56, Elvis Presley was king. And I was gaga over this man. But my father did not appreciate it. And I had pictures all over my wall. And one day I came home from school and they were all ripped up and thrown on the floor. I calmly got up and taped them all back together and put them on my wall. My dad didn't say a thing. And the other thing was a story that he told me, and then I'll quit regressing here. It was about Jake Haig, Floyd Doty, and my dad. And this is good for your remembrances, Carol. They were driving to Florida. Dad was going down again to look at property, figure out what he wanted. And each of the guys drove. It took them 3 days to drive. And it was Jake's Haig's turn to drive. He was driving through Georgia, and Georgia is a, you know. Yeah, oh yeah, big time. And back then, you know, in the late 50s, you know, they loved to catch those dang Yankees. And so anyway, cop car pulled him over, and anybody that remembers Jake remembers that he was quite something else. And anyway, he managed to, you know, say, okay, well, play kind of dumb that he didn't see the sign, and the cop, Georgia cop, kind of believed him. And my father got in there, you know, and he said, yeah, we just didn't see that sign at all, and, you know, it was fine. Then Jake pipes up, he says, I'm the town cop of Candor. And the cop said, $200 fine.
Shirley Telford. My name is Shirley Telford. I came to Candor in '57 to start teaching first grade. And I enjoyed it very, very much. But teaching school today and teaching school then is very, very different from the different places that I've substituted. Kids have special things that they have to learn to pass tests for reading and math according to the state laws today, and so they can't have a lot of the things that they used to have, like playing together and outdoors and for, you know, periods of time, half an hour a day. And we used to have a nap time, and we used to have a get-together in the morning if anybody came into school that wanted to tell something that was important to them, to get the children to start talking to other people and not being quiet, shy. They could come up and they could tell things, you know, talking to the whole class. And I don't think that's done in classes anymore. It's more, you're here, you've got to learn this, that, and the other thing, and that's about it. So, and teachers cannot be as loving to kids and putting their arm around them and the way they used to, and that's against the rule, and which a lot of kids need because they don't have sometimes the mothers and fathers home to take care of them and see them off even for school sometimes because of so many people working. So.
I'm Chris Silsby, and I'm not a Candorite. I think we came back to Candor in 1992, so I haven't been here a whole lot of time. But I remember coming by train from my hometown to Owego, and my boyfriend at the time, David Silsby, would pick me up in Owego and bring me here to his home. And everyone was very nice to me, and I soon felt really comfortable. And I love the rolling hills of Candor. I always thought, boy, I'd love to live here, and here in a late date, here I am. But one of the things I remember I did maybe the second or third time I visited was go down Candor Hill on a toboggan, and I was so scared. It was a cold, wintry day, and I was just petrified. We went at top speed. I hit my head, but I put my hair over it because I didn't want to admit that I'd hurt my head. And it wasn't, I don't think it was hurt. Maybe you would disagree with that. Anyway, that was one of the things. And I'm really enjoying Candor now, although now we spend 6 or 5 months in Florida, but Candor's my favorite.
I'm Georgia Ferguson. I too was in the wedding that Joan was in, and I too remember her acting up. and I also remember the bride not being very happy.
I love you.
Aren't you going to say anything, Mary?
You don't want